Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good Movie Podcast. This is the inaugural episode, potentially. This is the first episode of our Monday Night Movie Club. My name is Ellie, and I'm joined by my co-host. I was going to be like my lovely co-host, but
you could have said it.
That's yet to be decided. My co-host,
Demoted.
Molly.
Hello, everybody.
I feel like I do need to address the name. Do we need to address the name? It's the Good Movie Podcast. So you can either take it as the Good Movie Podcast or the Good Movie Podcast. So it's either about good movies or it's a good podcast about movies. It's kind of really entirely up to what the Google reviews say.
It's up to, if you thought it was a good podcast, great.
If you didn't, it's still the Good Movie Podcast. It has nothing to do with you anyway. So, as I say, this is our first episode of the Monday Night Movie Club. There is potentially an episode up before this where we've kind of given you a little warm up, got to know you a little bit better, where we've spoken about our most anticipated films of the year. But we feel like we're a little bit more in the swing of things with the second one. So maybe that will kind of never, ever make it out of the pits of GarageBand. We will see. But this is Monday Night Movie Club. I'm going to say that for a third time. And the idea...
What's it called? Sorry?
It's called Monday Night Movie Club.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's actually really clever.
Oh.
Yeah, and it takes place on Mondays.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's a movie club.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm good with names. The general idea behind this is that on Mondays, we are going to go and see a new release. Sometimes, actually most of the time, it's going to be in theatres, but some of the times it will be streaming releases. It all kind of depends. But the general idea is, we're going to go see a new release, and then we will come to you from the back of my Fiat 500, because I'm one of those people, and we will give you our immediate thoughts, reactions, feelings, kind of sticking a microphone into the conversation that you have with your friend when you come out of the cinema and you're like, oh, what was your favourite part? And they're like, oh my God, I love this bit. And then you just go back and forth. Yeah. That's kind of the general idea, but hopefully with a little bit more structure.
Yeah, not as nonsensical as normal.
Yeah, because that could get pretty boring for people who aren't involved in the conversation. Yeah. But we're feeling things out. We're trying things out.
It's a friendly, casual time.
Exactly.
We're inviting you into the Fiat 500 is what's happening.
There's not a lot of room. I've got a condensation problem.
You've got to squeeze in.
Yeah, but
will we maybe have some McDonald's for you to share?
There is normally McDonald's. Are you excited?
I'm super excited to go watch what we're watching today.
Which is?
Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah, did you want to say it at the same time?
Knock on the Cabin.
Knock at the Cabin.
Don't knock on the cabin.
Well.
As they shouldn't have.
They shouldn't have. Well, we don't know that yet, though.
I'm
assuming they shouldn't have. Anyways, it's by M. Night Shyamalan. We'll actually get into the plot and stuff when we go and see it. We're actually currently waiting to go and see it. So the next part that you hear from us will be, as I say, our immediate reactions, us coming out and having seen it.
We'll have spoilers.
There will be a lot of spoilers.
So obviously, go watch it and then come back and watch us.
Yes, go and listen to us, yeah. No, but Molly is absolutely right. We are going to be spoiling everything. The whole point is that we are just going to talk about it as it happened, what we're thinking. So I feel like we're not going to be... It won't be the same if we have to filter out the spoilers. I feel like it could also get very boring if we're not talking about specific plot points. So yeah, go and watch the film. Go check it out first if it's something that you're interested in, and then come back and listen to us. So the film that we're about to see is, as we said, Knock at the Cabin. It's by M. Night Shyamalan, and it's based off of the novel by Paul G. Tremblay, which is called The Cabin at the End of the World. I stuttered over that then.
Neither of us have read that either.
Neither of us have read it. We will probably get into some stuff about the book a little bit later on. Maybe just compare the endings. I don't want to make this too much about the book because we don't know a lot about it.
Interesting. I'm not knowing anything about it. I'm then excited to know not what could have been, but
what could have been. Poetic.
Yeah.
So, Knock at the Cabin, I'm just going to read a brief synopsis if you are not aware of what it's about, or just also to give you a little bit of context as well. It sees a young couple faced with an impossible decision after their remote cabin vacation is interrupted by 4 strangers. It's got some pretty exciting faces in it, actually. It's got Dave Bautista, Rupert Grint. It's also got Jonathan Groff and Ben Aldridge in it, Jonathan Groff and Ben Aldridge are the couple, and then Dave Bautista and Rupert Grint are 2 of the strangers who invade their weekend away, which, I mean, it doesn't sound nice. I'm kind of a bit anxious going in. I'm excited, though.
I'm excited. I feel like I haven't got a full taste of what his movies are like normally.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to expect in a genuine sense of I don't know if it's a big horror or if it's a thriller or like that's am I going to be covering my eyes halfway through it? Maybe
I
hope not.
All will be revealed, and it's going to be good. I'm very, very excited. So just as a reminder, from this point on there will be spoilers. We are going to go in, we're going to go see it, and then when we come back it will be a spoiler zone. Whoop, 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 whoop. Just kidding. That's so lame. Any thoughts before we go in? Do you want to say anything? And then we will sign off.
I'm super excited. There we go. That's it.
Let's go. That's what you need to know. Okay, cool. Right, we will be back very, very shortly. Okay, we are back. We are in the car. We have just come out of Knock at the Cabin.
Knock at the Cabin.
Initial thoughts, initial feelings, first reactions. What did you think?
I thought it was a really cool film. I've seen a lot of silly movies recently. Like, I haven't fun movies. I'll clarify. I've had a really good time. Nice, fun kids movies, borderline. So I think fun going back to the cinema and watching a film that kind of made me think more.
Yeah.
And I was very. I can't think of the word. I was into it, and it was
immersed.
I was immersed. Thank you. I was like, I was grossed into it.
It's gross.
Engrossed.
Engrossed. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that's the word I was thinking.
Engrossed. Yeah.
And I just thought it was really cool. I was thinking a lot, and it was a good movie for it to think. I think the ending then carried through well.
Yeah,
I felt.
It was an
had a good
all-round
time.
good experience.
Yeah.
It's
It's hard to sum up without going into specific details. I'm trying to be brief,
which we will get to. Yeah,
so that's why, like, it sounds like I'm like not interested in it. I'm like, yeah, it was good.
Was fine. No, I agree with you. I know what you mean. It was exactly like you said. We've seen a lot of lighter films and a lot of funnier films recently, and even like Megan. Like Megan obviously was a horror, but it was a funny horror.
Fun.
And it was so. This was, this is the first time in a long time that we've been to the cinema to see something that felt heavy.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel heavy in, I don't know, like an Interstellar heavy. But it was definitely heavier than what we've seen for a while. But in a good way.
Yeah.
I don't even know that heavy is the word.
I think more heavy, I guess, in just the way that, like, again, like, you're thinking about it. And I didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know what way it was going to go.
Yep.
And I guess it's darker themes though as well, like it's obviously murder and everything.
Well, there was very little comedy, like there was barely any comic relief at all.
And then watching, which I'm gonna still assume was Strawberry Shortcake, but that made me chuckle. I had a good time with that.
Yeah,
there was like a couple little moments where I was not like a proper laugh. It wasn't a comedy. There was a point there where I was thinking, maybe early on, I think when we watched the menu and I didn't get that it was a comedy. I thought this was more of a dark comedy for some reason.
Like going into it, you thought it was going to be a dark comedy?
No, like it started and I was like,
and then things got bad pretty fast.
There was like a couple lines and I was like,
you just thought you were coming into like a really cute story about a couple going on holiday with their kids. You were coming into the wrong film.
When you watch Series of Unfortunate Events and it shows you the fun thing about the elf, and then Jude Law's like, this isn't that film. I was like,
that was you.
This is me right now. I was like, this is a lovely family adventure.
You were just ready to have Jonathan Groff and Ben Aldridge having a nice time.
This was another fun, silly movie in my list, and it wasn't very fast. I wasn't meaning to go to a heavy movie.
So that actually leads us into the next point. You had only seen the trailer briefly, and I had seen pretty much everything that had been released for it.
Yeah.
So what did you expect going in? Was it kind of what you thought, having only really seen a trailer that didn't really give you too much?
It was what I thought, I think, in the sense that, like, I don't fully remember the trailer other than I remember a shot of them tied to the chairs and then the four of them standing in front of them and then maybe Dave Bautista. Either I remember it in the trailer or I remember seeing it on like Twitter or something, people discussing it, that it was about like, you have to make a decision to stop the apocalypse. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I needed to see more than that. I'm not really sure then, like, I want to go and watch all the trailers now because I'm like, what more did they show more in the trailer? I don't know what more you could have shown in the trailer.
Yes, yeah.
To do it. So I'm like, that interests me.
What they should
because I then I wasn't expecting certain bits of it. Like, I definitely think for no reason I thought Rupert Grint would be in it more just because he's Rupert Grint.
Me too.
So I was quite shocked.
I was shocked that he was so quick to go, for sure.
I didn't think obviously details like that, but generally I was like, oh, they're locked in the cabin, they have to make a choice.
Yeah, well, that was it. That was pretty much
so I think I went into it with a perfect amount of knowledge for that.
There's not really any more that you would have needed to know going into it. Obviously, like, less is more, but the trailers didn't give a lot away. There wasn't a lot to give away because it's not like it kind of had this big, crazy, convoluted plot where you know, like they.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
I think where we're saying like location wise, it's
Yes.
very limited in locations.
Exactly.
So again, like it's not as though I can't think of an example. I guess any other movie where they go to lots of locations.
Yeah.
You will see lots of things and you'll go, oh, okay, so it looks like they're there, there, and there, and there.
Yeah.
You couldn't figure that out. So what
No.
do you remember seeing? I don't know if you remember seeing specific things. Like I'm curious what they did show.
I don't remember anything else other than to be honest, as I say, I watched a little bit more than you because to be honest, I only think there were 2 trailers. There's normally only maybe 2 trailers and maybe TV spots. But I went into it exactly the same as you. I literally just knew it was 4 people invading a house and that they had a choice to make. And I think I knew it was the apocalypse because that was in the trailer. I don't know if you saw that in the trailer. And I mean, it was kind of implied that one of them were going to have to die.
Yeah.
But then that's all you needed to know. And then I did know, obviously I knew it was based off of the book. I have not read the book. We will get into some bits about the book. Not knowing it, we've Googled it, obviously, because as I say, we have not read it. But yeah, that was it. And so it was nice to go into it. I don't think this is not one of those films where if you hadn't seen the trailer, you'd have had a better experience. I don't think it made any difference. No. I think they didn't really tell you anything because, I mean, I had no clue what was going to happen. I had no idea if the apocalypse was real or not.
The best kind of trailer.
Exactly.
And the best kind of lead into the movie.
I think you could have very easily shown a little bit too much of the apocalypse in the trailer and things like that. But we'll move off of the trailer now. We'll get into some actual stuff about the film. What stood out for you? What are some moments that you were thinking of as they happened as like, yeah, this is good and I like this?
I instantly thought, and then I was second guessing myself, very minor, I liked the old Universal logo.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, did they do that on lots of things? I think it reminded me of Men in Black.
Yeah.
Not reminded me, but I was like, I know they use it in Men
like
in Black.
The older Universal.
Yeah, and I was like, I wonder if there was a reason for that. I was trying to make sense as well of all of the drawings in the opening credits.
Yeah.
Because then I think they then said, like, we all had the same drawings. And I'm like, I want to go back and look at those now. And
That's a really good
because I
point.
couldn't make out what they were. I like saw a nurse's note and now I'm like, oh, because she was a nurse.
Oh, wow.
But
wow,
I'm like,
yeah.
I can't think what I saw. So I'm like, I'm curious to see what that was. That stuck in my mind, I think, because I was thinking so actively, like, remember everything that happened.
Take it all in. Yeah. I did really like I love an opening credits. I love an opening credits of random things that relate to the film, imagery. I love it. And I think we should all have them.
People say they don't like them, and I get it in some ways if you just want to get into the movie. I also like just seeing everyone's names first. I think it's because I think not everyone stays for the credits. I'm like, you know what? Tell me everyone who worked on this movie.
Yes.
Do it first. But we have to watch this.
It did have slight Mark Jacobs by Mark Jacobs presented by Mark Jacobs vibes because it did say M. Night Shyamalan about 5 times.
And good, we should know that he did all of them.
It was like an M. Night Shyamalan film, directed by M. Night Shyamalan, produced by M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah, it was like...
Starring!
Yeah, it was... he's in it as well.
He's not listed on starring.
But no, yeah, he wasn't in that bit. But yeah, that did give me a little laugh because I was like, his name is all over this, obviously, as it would be. But it did make me laugh. But I love an opening credits was what I was immediately thinking. But into the body of the film,
once the
what
film
was actually
started,
going on?
I really like. I'm not very good with gore. It's why I've not really watched things like Final Destination. So I don't know how you class that as gore, but like very graphic,
like Saw
injury. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch those. And so when they had all the weapons, I was instantly like, oh no.
Yeah.
I liked that they didn't show much. I think I know they obviously showed a lot of blood and stuff, like when he did his throat at the end. Mm-hmm. But so obviously, like if you don't like gore whatsoever, you would like it. It was perfect level for me, and I felt very smart making the note. I don't know if it's common knowledge. Maybe everyone was like, yeah, obviously. But I was like, oh, because I then wasn't looking away. I didn't have to cover my eyes, and I was like, oh, that's what they were telling them to do. To watch the news. They were like, don't look away. You have to know what's happening. And I was like, I didn't look away at the gore, and I felt very like, oh, I've got a really good idea. And that was my really big note.
So they made it more watchable. They made you not look away.
Yeah, like,
well, they said to him, "Don't look away." Rupert Grint said to him, "Don't look away."
That's what I mean. I was like, I not have to watch. No one was making me watch, but because I wasn't covering my eyes, and they weren't, and I was like, But also, I just really appreciated that I didn't have to cover my eyes, and I got to watch the whole thing because I do hate when I don't think they needed to show it, and I think it was perfect because I was like, you know exactly what happened.
Yes,
it's not a gory movie where oh, there was no gore. Like, it was, I thought, I really appreciated that, and I thought they did it really well.
It wasn't presented as anything gory.
Yeah, it was just like slightly off camera. And it was perfect.
I agree with you. I'm not bad with gore. I don't have a problem with it, like, to watch it, but there was something about the setup of particularly Rupert Grint's death scene. We should probably use the character names, but I've already forgotten. It was Redmond or something?
I'm going to get them up.
Well, no, it was Roy. It was actually Roy in the end, but his death scene... Oh, Rory, sorry. His death scene in particular, having put the mask on, which I know they all did, but when they sort of were setting it up, I was thinking, I really don't want to see these weapons going into his head. And so I was actually quite grateful, exactly like you said, that they didn't show it, and that they sort of cleverly panned down on Dave Bautista and things like that. Because it just, it didn't feel like you needed it. It was all implied. It was all there.
You knew exactly what they were doing. You knew they were... And I think as well, it wasn't creative deaths in that sense. That it wasn't like, and they're like torturing them.
Major prosthetic or anything. It was just like, it was just brutal.
I know, you bashed his head or something.
Yeah.
Perfect.
For sure. Logistical side of it, obviously, as well, is that it was only a 15. So it meant that it didn't have to be an 18, I guess. I don't really know the rules with blood, but obviously it wasn't particularly brutal in that sense. So it didn't have to be an 18. And I don't think it needed an 18.
I think it fit just right.
Yeah. The 18 would have literally been seeing more of those murders, the killings. And that, I don't think was necessary.
It wasn't
that
missed.
was fine for what it had.
I thought after Dave Bautista died and it all started going down, he was like, you've only got a couple minutes. Them in the cabin talking, all the thunder and lightning was going. I was like, this looks brilliant. Like, I just really was like, oh, I think that's really cool. Like, and I think as he like turned around and one of the planes fell, and you're like, oh my god, it genuinely is happening. Or like knew it was happening at that point, but like it's happening in his not world, but he's been watching it on a TV.
Yes,
and
now
it's
his
happening
first
thing.
Him, for sure.
But also just thought, like them standing there with it going to the lighting and like the lights are flickering on them. I was like, that looks really nice.
Yeah.
It just looked really good.
I was trying to figure out what point I kind of started to think the apocalypse was actually happening, because I was like, this is fake. They had did they explain the pre-recorded news? I actually didn't catch it. Molly had to point it out to me right before Ben Aldridge then said...
really good. And then he said, I was like, damn.
Yeah. Oh, no. So I didn't notice. I think I was too busy looking for something that I missed the thing I was looking for.
It was right there.
And so it said on the screen pre-recorded news for one of the things. And then Ben Aldridge's character does actually call it out and said it was a pre-recorded broadcast. Did they explain that? Was it just like a kind of almost like a coincidence that it was pre-recorded because it was still relevant? Or
I think that's probably more... like our TV does that, you know. It doesn't say pre-recorded as such, but you do get them kind of being like, oh, and here's the news report from earlier.
Yeah.
So I think it was almost once you know it's happened, once you know it's real, you're like, oh yeah, they do just do that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I think it wasn't. At the beginning, I was like, oh, they're not. Are they going to give an excuse for that? But I think as it got on, I was like, oh, they do just do that. So
yeah, I think I started thinking that it was all actually real when Ben Aldridge's character Andrew did.
You're like following his thoughts, kind of.
Yeah, because he was so like, you know, like every time Jonathan Groff was kind of seeming like he was agreeing with it, I was like, no, like don't, come on, like it's obviously not. And then so having Andrew be so confident that it wasn't, I was like, yeah, like I'm with him. And in hindsight, like him appearing as the voice of reason now makes so much sense, that it wasn't a twisted ending, but the apocalypse was real. But I just was fully with him, and again, it wasn't until he then sounded a bit doubtful, and Dave Bautista's Leonard was, you know, said, I can see when someone's lying, that I was like, oh damn, like this might actually be real, guys.
I think it was with like almost like as the shift of the film of when it was just those three.
That's when it
was
became
like
real.
I think the whole time I was a bit back and forth, like, oh, I'm really not sure, and I was like, oh, did it? And then I think we were both saying with Adrian, we were both with Ben. I can't think what Ben's
Andrew,
character. Andrew. We were both with Andrew. Like, she doesn't have a kid.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't believe her for a second. I was like, me neither. What a liar.
At that bit, I was like, yeah. And then I think, when it was the three of them, I was like,
this is bad.
Oh, one of them's going to actually have to die now. And I got really sad.
I will say, there was a couple of parts throughout where I'm sure it was just completely me. I almost couldn't really fully understand what was being said. And so I sort of had to like take a second and like reprocess it. And the part where Dave Bautista says to them, "Oh, can you come outside for this bit? I like to do this part outside." I thought he was calling.
They're all going to
the
get
other
back
three. And I was like, they are not all alive.
I was like, are they all going to walk out of the
I'm so
water?
glad you thought the same thing. I thought they were all good because he'd taken two of them into the same room, and then Roy, Rupert Grint's character, was outside. But then obviously Andrew had already gone and got the ID and things like that, so he'd obviously been in the body. But just in that split second, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the twist. Like, they're going to come out and like...
I think this was the problem. I've written down two, like, not twists, but that I think I was expecting. And it didn't ruin it that they didn't happen.
No, yeah.
But I think I almost set myself up by thinking, like, and then something else is going to be revealed.
Yeah.
Something's going to be revealed. And it wasn't.
Save those
and then
four.
I got confused.
Because we'll talk about the ending in a little bit, because I want to, like, actually dive into how it all came together.
Sure.
There was a moment right at the beginning, it was pretty much immediately... as it started, where Wen is catching her grasshoppers, where she first meets Leonard. But before Leonard approaches her, she puts one of the grasshoppers, I'm trying to think of the name now, she called it Caroline, and then she spelled it so wrong, and it was so cute. But she put Caroline in the jar, and she says like, oh, I'm not going to hurt you, I'm just going to put you in here and learn about you for a little bit. And I just liked, I mean, my first thought, obviously not knowing anything, was like, is that
It's an experiment.
like a metaphor? Yeah. And then like knowing it was like Shyamalan, sorry, I was like, is that the twist?
Yeah.
He just told us the twist in the first
It's
2
right
seconds.
here.
Like, I was like, has he given it to us? And so then that sort of, not plagued, but that kind of then played into how I felt for the next sort of 40 minutes.
You were like thinking that's going to come in.
Is it all just like a big science experiment? Because he kind of did that with Old. Being like, and it was all fake. And I was like, please don't do this to me.
Don't do it
with this
again.
one. Like, I'm not sure that I would necessarily like it. But as I say, we will get into the ending again. But what else did you have? What else did you like?
Very super brief. I really liked when he was like, when Jonathan Groff was like, when I nod, do the thing you did at Thanksgiving. Because I was the whole time watching him, like waiting for him to nod, and then I didn't clock when he did nod. So when he started yelling, I was like, what the hell? And I was like, oh, ooh.
He did the nod.
I just thought it was a really cool scene. Like, I just thought I was and like, I think when she got him the knife and stuff, like, I think there were just loads of little bits.
Yeah.
It just all felt very, like, realistic as well. I think they were all very real characters.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think they built on it very well with the flashbacks and everything, but also just, like, I just really liked them together. But there were just, like, I liked that Wen did so much as well.
Yes.
She wasn't just, but, like, also she's a very realistic child. They were like, go and, like, sit in the thing, like, and one of us will come and, when he said one of us will come and get you, I was like,
I
no.
know.
She did so much, and I thought that was really cool as well, because the kid was brilliant. Like, she was such a good actress that I'm glad she was in it so much.
Yeah,
but yeah,
for sure.
I think it just, they felt like such a really good family as well.
Yeah.
That all those bits just felt really nice to watch.
For sure.
And it just felt more real, I think.
I love, like you just said, when he said about do the thing you did on Thanksgiving, and then obviously she has like a mini fake tantrum, not a mini tantrum, it was a pretty big like scream, and for her to know immediately what he meant was just like, I just loved it.
That's
I just
what
thought it was
I mean.
so cute.
There were like loads of bits like that where I was like, oh, it's very fleshed out that like they have this whole history together.
Yes,
and
and their song in the car
that's,
and little
that
things
was
like
so
that just
nice.
was so sweet.
Yeah, like it all was just built on so well. But yeah, like moments like that, I was like, but then it made it all the sadder at the end, because did you cry?
I thought you were crying. I was so confident. I really did think you were having a little wipe under the eye.
I felt really sad.
What, when they were playing the song at the end?
No, before, when Jonathan Groff was like, oh, well, I have a memory in my mind. And
Also,
I felt really sad.
I will say, terrible sandwich, by the way. Terrible attempt at aging up Ben Aldridge. He did not look old enough in that scene.
They put like a little bit of grey.
They were just like, oh, we'll just put a little bit of like Tipex in his hair.
He had like a dad jacket on.
He looked
like,
great, but he did not look old enough.
Because he's a good man.
I appreciate the effort. But then they zoomed in on his perfect, like, whatever he is, 35, 40-year-old complexion, and he did not look any older. I was like,
really
this man just still looks great. Not that he wouldn't look great older, but it made me laugh. I was like, I see what you're trying to do. I'll accept it it was a very cute moment.
It was nice.
And very sad, so it was, you could gloss over it. Did you have any more?
That bit was really good. That, like, when he was like, I have this memory.
Yeah.
I like they didn't hold on it too long. I think I felt very almost not comfortable that Jonathan Groff was the one who died. But it was just much like when you watch it and they're like, no, take me, I'll do it. It felt very quick, like he decided and you knew it was going to be him straight away, but you did have the moment of Andrew being like, no, but we all knew.
Yes.
It's still going to be Jonathan Groff, because the whole bit before of like, oh no, I believe him now, and like, or whatever, like he's into it.
Yeah.
I like that, there wasn't kind of like who's it going to be? I wasn't worried about that. I was then very engrossed in the scene of these like two men having like their last moment.
Yeah.
I wasn't then going, oh my god, no, like who are they going to kill? Like,
yeah.
And I thought that was nice that you knew it was him straight away.
And I loved their discussion of like why they should and they shouldn't, and like Jonathan's side of it being, but people are nice and there is goodness and there are nice people, and obviously Ben's character Andrew just being like, no, like they're assholes and they've hated us and they've so it was so interesting seeing the two sides, and exactly like you said, like it was really sweet to see that Jonathan Groff was comfortable. I keep saying the name and it sounds weird because obviously it wasn't Jonathan Groff, it was his character Eric, but yeah, like that Eric was like, no, it's fine, like it's okay and it's fine, and it made it even more sad, but it did make the death less like painful, because you're like, okay, well, like
he's okay,
he's not happy, but he appreciates it, it's a sacrifice and he's willing to do it, and it was very sad. It was very, very sad.
I thought it was nice.
Sadder than I thought.
It was, that's the thing, I wasn't expecting the range of emotions I had.
The one thing I will say is I would have almost liked to have seen the two of them standing, Andrew and Eric standing, you heard the gunshot and they kind of panned outside and then you knew it was, you knew it was going to be him, but you saw then Ben standing alone. But I would have almost liked them to have done the gunshot and then you just saw like him come up the steps. Does that make sense? You're
like waiting to see who pops up.
Yeah, but like you knew it was going to be him. I know that's kind of like, that's almost like playing on it a little bit too much, but there was a tiny part of me that was like, I would have liked to have seen one of them come up, but then it was really heartbreaking to see him calling for him after he died and things like that. It was just a very emotional ending. I don't know what I thought it was going to be, because somebody had to kind of die, but I think I'd gone into it with this confidence that no one was going to die and that it was all going to be fake, so I just wasn't prepared for such like a heart-wrenching ending. But I loved it in like a sad loved it way. I didn't enjoy it. Obviously Shyamalan is known for his twist endings and his big sort of finales. This didn't have a twist. It didn't really have a twist at all. I was going to say per se, but it didn't really have a twist at all. They actually did exactly what they said was going to happen.
I feel like the twist was, like rather than twist, it's like you have a question and then they give you the answer.
Exactly.
Like, is it or isn't it?
Exactly.
And then you know.
So,
which is nice.
Would you have wanted a twist? Did you feel like...
No. I don't know. I've not seen too many of his movies where, like, I've seen The Visit and Split. Neither of I feel like Split is kind of the same deal in that you're not sure if what kind of is going on, and then they're like, oh, he's the beast, I think that's what they call him. So kind of same vein. And then The Visit, I don't think... there is a bit of a twist in The Visit, I suppose.
It's not their grandparents.
There's a big twist in The Visit. I completely forgot that's the twist. Well, there we go. I've had either end of his thing.
I feel like, as well, I will say the two that you have seen are not so classic.
That's
I don't
what
want to
I
be
mean.
that person. I don't want to say it in like a pretentious way at all.
No, they're not. I've not seen The Village or what he's like, the big ones that he...
he established
The
his
Sixth Sense.
twists.
That's the big one.
He established his twists in the earlier ones. So I don't know, he's talked before about how that's kind of impacted things like The Village and stuff like that. So maybe he is in a phase of phasing out the twist. I mean, it definitely seems like it.
I don't think it needed it in the slightest.
No, I agree.
I did expect some, but I wasn't disappointed. But I think I'm almost probably glad they didn't happen, because I think it was a better ending. I think if there had been a twist, it might have, not cheesy, and like you were saying before, like it was quite a nice story in the sense of about a family, and it was a really sad story about this family, so I think it was nice that it was just, and they just drove off together.
It would have been terrible if it pulled like, I was going to say The Mist, but you haven't seen the ending.
I haven't
so
seen
I
The
don't want
Mist.
to spoil it for you.
We'll
but it
watch
would
that.
be terrible if Andrew had killed Eric, and then it was all a lie.
That's what I
it
mean.
Was
like,
fine. Like there would have been no payoff, and it would have just felt terrible.
That's what I mean. Like if Jonathan Groff is like, I'm very happy, like knowing that you're going to go have this nice life, and then they didn't have a nice life, you'd be like, oh no, So
Well, yeah.
and I think it already kind of happened, that idea of, like you're saying, I suppose, like you'd have felt terrible, like if he'd have died for no reason. You kind of had that anyway, because I guess you learnt that their stories were real. She genuinely was a nurse, she genuinely had a kid, he was genuinely a teacher.
Yeah.
They didn't die for nothing, but what I mean, like, if they'd have gone earlier, they wouldn't have died and she'd have still been with her kid and stuff. So you kind of still had that idea of, like, that doesn't make sense what I'm saying.
I don't know what you mean.
I don't know what I mean.
I'm sorry.
Scrap it.
I'm sorry.
Let's
I was
go
like trying to
back.
follow along. I know what you mean in the sense of there was that element of he was going to die anyway, so if he'd have died earlier, it would have saved the others. But then it wasn't their fault. Like it was thrust upon them for no reason. Like it was a very that was the whole point of it. It was this big kind of moral dilemma and things like that. But I was with Ben Aldridge the whole time. I was like, we'll walk the scorched earth together. I don't care. It's fine.
I think it was more on me that I got confused when the house was burning. I was like, did they save it? And then and then I was like, oh no, so they could have walked the scorched earth together.
Now the two of them have to walk it, and then obviously it was fine.
Yeah, so that was nice.
Well, it wasn't fine. It absolutely wasn't fine, but it was fine. No.
Yeah.
It was okay.
What, did you have any theories then that you were thinking, like, I'm curious?
I didn't have any, like, fully fleshed out theories, but I definitely did think that it was going to kind of all come back round, to it wasn't real. The apocalypse didn't happen, or it wasn't happening. And as I say, like, when they said before about meeting on the message boards, that was something where I started to kind of then lean into, like, oh my goodness, like, it is all fake and it's all...
Yeah.
But I didn't have anything in particular where going into it, I was like, this is how I think it will end. I think it's going to be this. I just, exactly like we just said, knowing it was a Shyamalan film, I was like, oh, it's probably going to have some big crazy thing where it's like a science experiment and it's whatever. But yeah, nothing fully fleshed out. Did you have anything?
I did. I had two that I wrote down. Very minor ones that, again, I then afterwards were like, I'm so glad that didn't happen, because as someone who can't write a story, they were naff. So I'm going to share them with you now.
Okay.
I thought when they went into the cafe, they were all in on it. And I thought it was... No, not all... Sorry, they weren't all in on it. I wrote that down, but I've now remembered what my original point was.
Right.
I thought when they walked into the cafe, it was going to be something like all those people had just experienced the same thing. And so they all had, like... So they were all going to be like, we did it, we did that. And then the main two were going to go, we did it, we did that. That would have been naff.
No,
but I was expecting, like... I thought someone was going to say something on the phone and it was going to be like, oh no, we all just experienced it. And it was like... They all but then I was like, that asked too many questions, that they all had to complete it or something.
You're being quite harsh on yourself.
I was thinking of the maze run. Is what I do, where they all come in the maze at the end and they're like, we were also in our own maze.
Is that how the maze run ends?
No, the second one is when they come out of the thing.
Oh, and there's groups of
That's
them,
how the maze ends, I suppose.
I see.
And then
Can I just say, sorry, before you get to the next one, I really like that. I don't know how I would have felt if it actually happened in practice. I'd have to think about it more.
It would have
but that's a cool idea.
Too many questions. And then I thought my other one, which was silly, was when Jonathan Groff when Eric was starting to, right at the end when it was just Dave Bautista, like the others had gone, and Eric was like, oh, I believe it. I can't remember like how he got into it, but he was believing it. I thought it was going to be something like Dave Bautista was the one from his family who survived and he's gone on to share the message with other people. So Jonathan Groff was then going to join the team. These
are not silly ideas.
I think they were very split of me, like, thinking ahead, then going, no, pay attention to the movie. Okay. But I could think they were standing next to each other, both being like, Andrew,
that's true.
It's
they
happening.
almost teamed up, didn't they?
So I was like, oh, hang on a second.
Oh,
and then I was like, no.
That's interesting though, because as mine weren't fleshed out like yours, but I definitely was at a few points thinking, okay, now something's gonna happen. Yeah, it's gonna be like a twist. But no, but like I was not disappointed that there wasn't a twist. I was pretty satisfied with how it all came together. But yeah, I definitely did go in with that expectation of, okay, but what is it?
Yeah,
like
what are you gonna do?
What's the big thing? What are you gonna do tonight?
But then I think that's the thing, like repeating what we said though, because he then early established this is a very lovely family.
Yeah.
I then didn't expect a crazy ending too much. Like I had the thought of like a quick thought and then was like, no. That wouldn't pay off what he's been building up to, which is this is a family built of love.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that would be too sad. And I didn't think he was going to do it.
It wouldn't have been true to the relationship that he had been establishing across the film. 100%.
Exactly.
It would have felt... I think the whole film in general felt different to his other ones. Obviously, I do feel like his films in general do feel different to each other regardless, but yeah, it felt just like a thriller.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it was going to have this big, like, whoa, like, crazy ending. So I liked it. I'm glad we both were satisfied with the ending.
Yes.
It was good. I will now tell you, if you're curious, how the book ended.
Oh, okay.
So,
I saw as I was just Googling something, I didn't see anything to do with it, but I saw someone say, because someone said something about the ending and they went, the book, and I went,
okay, no, don't.
Turn it off. So I don't know a single thing.
Okay.
I didn't know it was a book going into this, and then I remember you saying, and then obviously it says on the credits, based on the book. So I was like, cool. I kind of want to read the book. I'm not a great reader, so I probably won't read the book. Okay. So I'm more intrigued to know if you're going to tell me, to be honest.
So if you didn't know, it's based on a book by Paul G. Tremblay, and it is called The Cabin at the End of the World. They do say at the start of the film, like you said, it's in the credits. So if you do want to read the book, skip ahead a bit, because I'm only going to talk about the ending. As I say, neither of us have read it, so I'm getting this off of radiotimes.com, because that's the quickest place I could find it. So it says that when Andrew escapes from the cabin to fetch his gun while they're preparing to sacrifice Adrian, so the second person to die, so a little bit earlier on, there's a struggle that follows, and Andrew kills Adrian, but also accidentally fires the gun at Wen and kills Wen.
Oh, no, I'm glad that didn't happen.
I'm really glad that didn't happen. I think that would have been too brutal.
Does that still happen?
For the screen.
So
let me tell you.
Yeah,
I know the question you're going to have.
Yeah.
So Leonard then informs a distraught Eric and Andrew that since this death was accidental, it doesn't
That's
count.
what I was going to ask, because I said that I thought that they made it very clear that, like, it was very much like, you have to decide.
Yeah, you have to choose.
And then you kill.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like, you have to pick who dies. It was like, you decide, and then, like,
you
so
can't
that's
just
what
die.
I was, yeah.
Exactly. That's why they couldn't kill them.
It's got to be
like
intentional. That. Oh, no, that's terrible. So what, one of them goes on...
So,
oh no.
It says, Wen's death then has a profound effect on Sabrina, who decides to abandon her role and kill Leonard before leading Eric and Andrew into the woods, where she gives them the keys to Redmond's car. She then kills herself, and then she reminds them that they still have the chance to prevent the apocalypse. And then the pair decide against making a sacrifice, instead heading to Redmond's car and pledging to stay together whatever happens.
Is that how it ends?
The novel leaves it far more ambiguous. If the apocalypse is really happening or not.
I think if they had done that in the film, I just don't know how you would do it in terms of obviously Sabrina turning on Leonard without, like, obviously Wen dying.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have minded it being an open ending of them being like, we don't know. You couldn't really combine the two. I prefer the film. I think in a book sense, that's great. Yes. That's a real fun ending. I enjoyed watching the film, though, more.
Yeah, I'm still very, very satisfied with the film ending. I think that has a lot more... I mean, that would have been heartbreaking. If they'd have killed Wen, that would have been a lot.
I don't think I'd be coming out of it being like, that was a cool movie. Yeah. I'd be like, oh, yeah, it was
yeah. It was horrible. Personally, I think that's a really interesting ending. And I do actually really, really like the sound of it. But I think nice, for the screen, I can see why he changed it.
I like, though, that I think that's cool... that you can go read that and you have two different stories.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not an exact one-to-one.
Exactly.
Which is then good.
Unless you've listened to this and then now you know how it ends.
Sorry.
Well, if
you've read the books, like I think you were saying before about, like, that's then cool because if you've read the book, you're not expecting the film ending. You're going to think it's happening the same. So that's then cool in that regard. That
it would have been a twist for somebody who has read the book,
Yeah, that's where the twist comes in.
There you go. That was the real twist, was the twist that you twisted all along. And it was all intentional. He was just hoping you read the source material first.
I do kind of want to read it.
I would probably give it a go.
Yeah.
It sounds really, really good. And I do always like to do that just to kind of just get another, that's exactly like you just said. It's got a different perspective.
I'm curious as well then if the beginning of it's the same, if like the characterization's the same.
Yeah,
and
there's
like
a lot that
their
I'm
backstory
how much is similar.
Yeah.
As a final sort of wrap up, well, we're not properly at the wrap up, but there's been a lot of discussion online of whether this is one of Shyamalan's stronger releases, where it kind of lands in a ranking. I've seen a fair amount. of Shyamalan films. I've not seen all of them, so I don't know that I could necessarily put it in a ranking, but I felt like it was pretty strong.
It makes me want to go watch more of his movies, I'll say that.
Yeah.
I'm now like, I like that one. I don't know how it would hold up compared to others because I haven't seen them, but if the others are like that or better,
Yeah.
I'm having a great time.
I didn't love The Visit, and I didn't love Old, but they're fine. I didn't love Split. I didn't watch Glass.
I think that's, I think from what I've seen, I would say I preferred these ones. I think Split was cool. I also just really like Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, she was great.
And James McAvoy. I think I'm almost more inclined to watch this one again. I'd probably recommend this one more to other people than the others.
Yeah.
I think it's more well-rounded for a bigger audience, maybe.
Yeah. So in summary, great film.
Great film.
Very much enjoyed it. Ben Aldridge is well and truly on my radar because I loved him.
I love Jonathan Groff. It's a shame he's not got a Tony yet. Did you know that? He should be on his way to an EGOT.
What's he got?
None of them.
Hey.
What's he got?
What has he got? It was a genuine question.
He's not got any of them.
So he's not on his way to anything?
He should be. He should have a Tony.
I didn't know if he would have an Emmy for Mindhunter.
I was just about to say that. I don't think he does.
Can we shout out Viola Davis on a podcast that isn't about her?
Shout out.
Because she got the
Shout
EGOT.
out to this minor actress that no one knows about.
No, you know what I mean? Not shout out like giving her credit. No, not like shout out like giving her exposure. Like shout out because
She needs it.
clearly.
Not like she just wanted an
The
EGOT.
EGOT legend needs us. Final thoughts. I liked it. I don't want to say pleasantly surprised. I feel like we kind of were expecting to like it. It wasn't really a shock that we liked it.
Yeah, I wasn't going into it going, I wonder what I'll think. I came out and was like, oh yeah.
It was cool.
Good time. I liked it. I'll watch it again.
I liked the cast. I liked
the crew.
I'm sure the crew were great.
They were great. It was a great movie.
Yeah.
Therefore, they were great.
But I'm happy with how it all came together.
Yeah.
What will you be giving it on Letterboxd?
I need to learn to reel in my Letterboxd rating.
You do. You're a bit too generous.
I'm trying to be more rational.
Is this inspired by... Because I've already done mine for this. And I went for 3.5. So is that because you heard me say 3.5?
Old Molly would have gone 5 stars.
100%.
And then, but let's think about it. It's probably not 5 stars.
You got to reel it in a little bit.
Because what are my other 5 stars? It's not the same.
It's not.
No.
This wasn't Shawshank Redemption. It absolutely wasn't Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Neither of those are my 5 stars.
I know.
So
I don't
know if
even seen
you're talking
Shawshank Redemption.
I think I'm going to say 4. I was thinking 4.5. And then I'm like, not for any... I couldn't give you a reason as to why it's not higher.
You just got to be true to you.
I feel like, 4 stars.
4 stars is good. As I said, I've gone for 3.5. I feel like that's pretty
Feels like
accurate.
I'd say it's a personal rating as well, as opposed to like if I'm not a film critic. So I'm like, 4 stars for me. It suited me. It's 4 stars.
You're fine. It's fine.
I'm
You
paranoid.
don't have to think every film is 5 stars. It's okay.
Some of them are.
Some of them are. Yeah.
Some of them are.
That's film, baby. Do you have anything else that you want to leave us with? Any parting words? Anything that you want to share for the
the film?
But also it's the inaugural episode. You know, maybe it's the inaugural episode. We might have uploaded something before this, but it's the inaugural Monday Night Movie Club episode. So anything, whatever feels right.
I've from watching Game Changer clips, it's made me sad that I don't think I'll be funny enough to go on Game Changer.
We've gone off track.
Those are my final parting words for the podcast.
You just want to be on Game Changer. If you've enjoyed the episode, please feel free to find us on Twitter. Let us know what you also thought. We are at the Good Movie Pod. Still getting to grips with the social media stuff. It's all fresh, so...
We'll write it down, though.
Yeah, it'll be in the show notes. Anything that you want to find of us will be in the show notes. Super fun. I hope you've had a great time listening to us. I hope you've had a great time hearing what we thought.
Thanks a lot. And I hope you listen to us again.
What do we have lined up? What do we have lined up for the next episode?
We're going to watch Skinamarink.
Next.
But
we don't know when. That should be next week.
Unless we chicken out. We watched The
That's
Conjuring
okay,
again and it scared me. I've seen it already.
We've got some fun things coming up. We've got some fun things planned. The immediate thing that I can think of is we really want to do Scream Week, where we recap all of the Scream movies in time for Scream 6. But we're going to play it by ear. It's chill. Right? That's not like Jess Day when she's like, I'm fine. It's fine. But again, thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and we will speak to you next time.
Thanks for coming.